Friends, this is Carly and I'm back with another volume 1 review. I did a lot of reading this week, so let's start right off because this is a good one and I want to talk a lot about it. So the book that I'm reviewing is How to Train Your Devil, and it is by TONCHI KATAOKA, and it is published by Seven Seas Entertainment. So Seven Seas Entertainment, I really like. They produce The Seven Deadly Sins, which is one of my favorite series. So if you're looking for something that is already ongoing to check out, Seven Seas has some really great titles. And this is a brand new one that just came out a couple of weeks ago, and it's actually pretty good. So the story of How to Train Your Devil is about this girl right here, Zeno. She's an adventurer, and she is tasked with the job of killing the Devil King. And when she finds the Devil King, who is this little character right here, his name is Groll, she discovers that he is a 1-year-old infant and she's a hero, so she can't rightfully kill a baby. So she brings him back to the castle to ask the king what to do. And the king decides that because she didn't have the gumption, I guess you would say, to kill him on sight the way that she was tasked with doing, that it is now her responsibility to raise him as her own. So she is his mother now. And in addition to that, she is tasked with, in order for him to live while she's raising him, to help 1 million people by doing 1 million good deeds for different individuals. So the catch kind of about Groll is that he was raised to propagate his species. So this is not an adult book, it's for older teens, but there's definitely a very heavy sexual element in this book. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But he, when he was caught by Zeno, he basically is going around trying to nurse all kinds of different women, and he's definitely sexual as a baby, which is strange. But it's not strange when you consider that he's the devil and he has to have more future devil kings. But the king, in order to prevent him from harassing or assaulting anyone, puts this little crown on his head that's called Kukijo, I think. No, Kinkujo. And it will squeeze his head as he does inappropriate things until, if he doesn't stop, eventually his head will pop and he dies. They also made it so that Zeno, if she does not keep him under control and keep him alive, she will be executed. So she is given a ring that you can't see in this cover picture. And if that ring and Gruel are apart for 24 hours or more, he will die and she will be executed. So they have to raise him to be a good guy, and the king's ulterior motive is that he can control monsters, and if they raise him to be a good human, he will work for the king and help them control monsters, and they'll have an advantage in future conflicts. And also, he yeah, so I mean, I guess that's basically it. That's the premise of the story. So after we get all that information, they start out on their adventures, which lead them to get their first ally, who ends up being Zeno's grandmother, whose name is Nabu. She's an old adventurer and she's really awesome, but she's ready to retire because she's ill. So she helps them out by feeding them and giving them a place to stay, and then gets Zeno and Gruel to take over her adventurer for hire business. Then the first task they receive there leads them to get their apprentice, who is a girl named Lysia, and she is possessed by a demon, but she fights it. They share her body, and with Zeno and Gruel's help, she overcomes it and becomes their assistant. And then as a group, the first monster they take on is a plant called the Lovelysia, which is a kind of a tentacle monster. And we are left with a cliffhanger where they are faced with battle with Gruel's nursemaid from where the Devil Realm that he came from. And her task was not only as his nursemaid, but to raise him to be the kind of man that he is becoming, which is one who will propagate his species. So there's kind of a lot. Everything is linear. It makes sense. We start with how Zeno and Gruel came together. We build their team. We set the stage for the adventures to come. And we leave at the cliffhanger at the end of the story with their first major conflict with a boss, as it were. And the style of this book also does present a sort of video game type element boss, where they describe characters with a little panel like this. Digital. So there's a video game type element to the styling of it. The artwork is I really like it. I like full panels. I talked about this a little bit in a review I recently wrote for a book called The Golden Sheep, and it had so much blank space. This book does not have a ton of blank space. I'm just making sure I don't get any adult content in here like that. So I really enjoyed the artwork. Now the principle, and then of course I show a picture. The principle of this story, that Gruel is sort of a pervert, I think is cute and I really like. But I will say that some of the scenes where he is after women or trying to strip women or see them nude or nurse or whatever, feel like I just exhausting. It feels a little bit beleaguered. It feels a little bit forced. And it's kind of like, okay, the story is so good and cool things are happening and I like the characters. It's like, do we really need another moment like this? And so I kind of, in the case of this book, I'm sort of irritated by the slightly more mature content. It's not necessarily adult content. There's a little bit of nudity, naked breasts and bottoms, but that's about it. But particularly the part with the Lovelesia, where it is a plant that is sort of a tentacle monster, that was just too much for me. I didn't care for that. However, those little things that bother me aside, the things that I like are so much better. The writing is awesome. The rapport between Zeno and Gruel is really fun. And I like Lesia a lot. Lesia a lot. She's a really cool character. And the fact that she's like battling a demon, so Gruel is sort of tugging on the demon side of her while Zeno is pulling on the positive side of her, but she feels really bound to do the right thing, is kind of a neat story. And the idea that the first boss that we're seeing is a really awesome vampire succubus lady who was Zeno's nursemaid was Gruel's nursemaid, is really fun. So there's a lot here. There's a lot to work with. I feel like the sexual content, in my personal opinion, in this book is a little bit forced and overdone, but it is a part of a trope that exists in manga, in Japanese manga, that is very normal and just a part of, everyday literature and books and comics that you come across. So maybe it's just this one doesn't work as well for me, but I am going to continue to read this book. I feel like this would be a really, really fun anime. And so hopefully they get to keep going with it. What happens. I'm really excited to see what happens with Ruby. This book just came out, so it'll probably be Q1 of 2020 when the next volume comes out. But it's definitely something to look forward to. So if you're looking for a fun, this could be kind of a dungeon crawler adventure, depending on how they get their quests through the business. But it has a lot of fun elements, a lot of comedy, and really cute characters, great artwork. I think that it's definitely worth giving a shot, and we'll just have to see how they play with the sexual content in the future, because it didn't work all that well for me in the first volume. So hopefully they back off of that a little bit now that the story's established, and we can move on to more of the adventure portion. So that's what I have to say about How to Train Your Devil. Here is the cover. It is available on sevenseasentertainment.com and also on amazon.com. And I will share a link in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you with another review soon. Bye.